Happy Thursday, friends. Kirsten here, your decision coach for the episode. I believe this is the last episode I'm recording in my current place. The next time we see each other, we'll be in the new studio, as it were, the new house. Movers are on their way. And today we're going to talk about something that is very easy to not do, forget about, never think about. And it's something that can make a huge difference, not only in the results you create and how effective your planning and execution is, but also your relationship with yourself. A lot of people who come to me to work together don't just want to get goals done. They want to get goals done in a kinder way, in a more efficient way, in a way where they're not as judgmental of themselves the entire time, or they plan for things like rest and being a human and not just being productive 23 hours a day. So, if that's what you're here for too, then listen up. This is going to make a huge difference. So, what we're talking about today is putting assessment into your plan, specifically putting the step of assess the plan into your plan. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You set a goal, and it's not something as formulaic and predictable as something easy, like I'm going to take the trash out before trash day. Maybe it's a big goal. Maybe it's something you've never done before. Maybe you're dealing with circumstances you've never dealt with before. So you set a goal, make a certain amount of money, get a certain amount of clients, do a certain amount of work, write a certain number of chapters, clean out a certain number of rooms in your house, whatever it is. And you put a date on it. Why do we put a date on it? Well, that's how we are typically taught to set goals, and it gives us a little direction. But sometimes we feel like it's a little arbitrary. Sometimes we feel like it's a little hope driven. Like, I don't know when I'm going to get this new job or sign my first client or finish this chapter, but I would like to have it done in 3 months. So you set the goal for 3 months. And then what happens? One version of the story is you set the goal, you have the deadline, and you spend the entire time until the deadline questioning, is that deadline right? Is the goal right? Should I change the goal? I haven't achieved the goal yet. Should I change the goal or should I change the deadline? So week after week after week, a ton of your time, a ton of your mental energy is going to questioning your plan. Another way this can go is you set the goal, you set the deadline, you try to achieve the goal by the deadline, you fail and you decide this was ludicrous. I can't believe how wrong I was. This is insanity. I am such a failure. And then you go down a little shame spiral because you didn't hit your deadline. Now, obviously, these are not the only two ways that this can go, but these are the ways that we most often run into trouble that today's solution specifically addresses. Because here's the deal, setting time based goals has been proven to be effective. We need deadlines. They help us get shit done. They help us prioritize things over other things. They help us build momentum and keep things in focus. We don't want to get rid of the deadlines. But often I hear people condemning themselves or condemning their plans because they get the deadline wrong. In essence, they guess incorrectly about how long it will take to get something done or when something will happen. They've made a guess. Maybe it's a hope fueled guess. Maybe it's a thoughtful data based estimate, but it's a guess. It's a guess and it's been proven wrong. And our mind minions love making this a personal failure. This is why we are addressing this problem and we're going to put assessing the plan into the plan. First, we have to come together and remember what the function of a plan is in the first place. We have to remind ourselves the function of a plan is to guide our actions, aid progress in an intentional direction, create desired results. The function of a plan is not to help us accurately predict the future. That's not what we're going for. We would love for all of our plans to work out perfectly. Of course we would. But then we would never be delightfully surprised by the universe, would we? We would only ever get to experience things we could come up with. And Sometimes the things the universe presents us with, or however you want to think about it, are way more fun, way bigger, way more exciting, way more energizing, way richer than we could have ever come up with on our own. So I don't think that any of us are really trying to live an exclusively plan based life where only things happen that we can predict, and they only happen in the way that we can accurately forecast they happen. We have to remind ourselves of this because we get so dang mad at ourselves when our plans are proven wrong, quote unquote. And I need you to hear me on this so that you can hear yourself on this when you are talking to yourself about this later. Your plan is just a guess. That deadline was just a guess. It could have been your best guess. You could be telling me right now, no, it wasn't a guess. It's when I needed it to happen by. And I hear you and I validate your feelings. But you gotta remind yourself you are not in the business of future prediction. And your mental energy would be far better used assessing what you've learned about what worked well and what didn't work well to create the results you want than just harping on your own failureness. It's really tempting to judge these things, especially since hindsight can be so clear and can be so compelling. It can be very tempting to want to spend a lot of time and energy judging, why didn't I just plan better? Why didn't I think of so and such things that I didn't think about? So it's up to you to recognize that your mind minions are trying to make this the most important thing on the agenda, to judge yourself and feel really bad and make sure that you know that you are a failure for guessing incorrectly. And it's up to you as the CEO of yourself and your mind minions to decide this is not the top priority. This does not deserve the top slot in our agenda. We made the plans we made, we guessed the things we guessed, and now we have to assess. The caveat here is that you do have to process and validate all of your feelings because we can be disappointed. You're allowed to be disappointed when things don't happen the way that you want or think they will. Believe me, I've been there many times and it's not fun. So you don't have to like it. You don't have to gloss over any feelings about it. But I will tell you, the faster you can accept that you didn't know what you didn't know and you didn't predict what you didn't predict and you didn't think of what you didn't think of, the faster you can accept that that's what happened, the faster you can move on in an intentional direction with a clear head. So we're breaking down what even is a plan? What is it for? What's its function? A plan is based on the belief that something is possible. It's possible for me to make this much money in this much time, spend these many hours and create these many pages, have the energy to clean out this many rooms in my house in this given amount of time. I think it's important to remember this. When you are setting up a plan, you are telling yourself, I believe this is possible. And that belief piece, I tell you, it makes a difference because decisions are most effectively implemented when you commit to them. So if you decide on a plan, think about the difference it makes if you go all in. You give yourself the best chance for that plan to succeed by being committed to it every time you show up to execute it. And the tactic we're going to introduce into your planning today is going to help you address that fear that comes up of what if I'm wrong? What if it doesn't work? What if I don't hit the deadline? What if blah, 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 blah. That tactic is planning on assessing the plan, putting a reassessment point in your plan so you have a runway that you feel safe to fully commit to the plan. So let's talk about some examples. Okay. Let's say you want to make $25,000 in the next quarter. Let's just use nice round numbers. You want to bring in $25,000 of revenue in your business in the next quarter. You're going to come up with a plan to make that amount of money in that amount of time. If you've never done this before, you're not going to be able to guarantee your results. You're not going to be able to accurately predict everything that's going to happen, but you're far more likely to create this result you want of $25,000 revenue if you create a time-based goal around it than you are if you just said, I would like to make that much money at some point, maybe eventually, however long it takes. Mer. How are you going to execute that goal? You're just going to make the money you make and then add it up. And then someday maybe it'll add up to $25,000. That's not intentional. That's not exciting. And that's undercutting your potential because if you want to be able to create that, then you got to get to work figuring out how to create that, right? The same exact thing could go for I want to clean out this particular room in my house before the holidays. So the first thing I would say is your coach is actually, okay, well, before the holidays is a nice idea, but it's not a date. So get specific there. What do you mean by before the holidays? We can phrase things unhelpfully sometimes to ourselves. So if you're going to set a time based goal and give yourself a deadline, actually give yourself a deadline so you know what you're talking about. So let's say you want to clean out this particular room in your house before November 24th, or you want to make $25,000 in the next quarter. The first thing I want you to do, remember that by making this plan, you are deciding to believe these things are possible. Deep breath. You're not saying, geez, it would be nice if this happened on its own. You're not saying, I don't believe this is possible, but I'm going to make up a goal about it anyway and then prove myself right that I can't do it. That's not what we're doing. You are deciding to commit to the belief that this thing is possible in this time frame or by this date. Now, what you don't want to do is spend the next entire quarter or spend weekend after weekend until Thanksgiving judging yourself, judging your lack of progress, questioning if you've set too big a goal, questioning if you're ever going to be good enough to achieve anything that you want. Like we can spiral so hard. Our mind minions can go to town questioning our plans and our goals, and it spreads out from there. We don't want you rethinking this plan you've created over and over and over and over and over again. It's a waste of your time and it's not going to help you get anything done. So, what you can do to address any hesitation, to address any doubt, and the unknowns that lie before you, you can put assessment points into your plan as well. You can say, all right, I am going to commit to the goal of 25K revenue in Q4 or cleaning out the room by November 20, what did I say, 4th? I'm going to commit to that plan. And I'm going to assess what's working well, what's not working well halfway through. This is arbitrary. You can do whatever you want. It is goal specific. But what these assessments are for is not to give you an excuse to rethink your entire existence. It's to check what's working and what's not working well to create this result, to move me in the direction I want to go. Arguably, the most important part of this whole lesson is in the scenario that you do not achieve the goal by the date. It is November 25th and the room has not been cleaned out. The quarter is finished and you made 20,000 revenue, not 25K. The most important part of including assessing the plan in your plan is to not immediately deem yourself a failure and go down a shame spiral because you didn't hit the goal by the desired deadline. 9 times out of 10, just because you did not hit the deadline doesn't mean you're giving up on the goal. Does the room stop needing to be cleaned out because it's now November 25th? Will it just remain this way for all of time now? Are you going to give up forever on making 25K revenue in a quarter because you couldn't do it one time? Probably not. This is why assessing your plan as part of your plan is so crucial for goals you know you're not going to give up on, like getting a new job or starting a business and bringing in your first dollars or moving. I mean, speaking of moving, right? If you have some kind of goal where you know this is happening, I don't know when, I don't really know how, but what I am 100% certain of is I will get a new job or move into a house with a yard so I don't have to walk these dogs by myself every day. If you know that's happening and you've committed to a plan, it's going to be super helpful to put in assessment points because you could be interviewing for several months and not prioritizing part time work or bringing in income. You could be really behind that plan. I'm going to prioritize meeting people, making connections, networking, sending in my resumes, interviewing. Let's say that was the plan for 2 months and you haven't gotten the job you want by then. You can put in an assessment point. Let yourself come up for air from executing that plan. Take a look at, how are my finances? How's my mental health? How am I feeling? What are my needs? Do I need to shift the plan at all for the next 2 months? Do I need to consider some part time work while I still go after this goal of getting the next best job? This is also really effective and really crucial. I will give you a personal example for dealing with circumstances that are out of your control, maybe that you're not the biggest fan of. So, Kenny and I, my husband, the camera operator, made a plan for how we were going to deal with the writer's strike. Like, what are we going to do now that you can officially not get hired for your career job for the foreseeable future? We made a plan that we agreed on, but there was a time frame involved. So this isn't even a goal we wanted to achieve. This was just a plan that we agree on. It was super crucial for us to have assessment points to check in with. Now that X amount of time has gone by, how do we feel? What do we need? What do we think? Do we want to continue implementing this exact same plan, or does the plan need to change? This was really important because there were two of us involved. So, to keep the mind reading off the table, we had to be clear on our expectations and agreements. Okay, this is the plan until this date. And at this point, we're going to reassess. It's been X long in the strike now. None of us wanted to get here, but here we are. Now let's make a plan for the next chunk of time. I know we started talking about goals, but I also want you to know this idea of putting assessment into your plan can be effective for just dealing with life circumstances too. Anytime you're making a plan, you're deciding to believe that something is possible, that something will be good, that something will be achievable, that something will work. We're just guessing, but if you tune into your truth the best you can that day and you use the data you have available to you in the mindset that you are in, you're going to come up with the plan you're going to come up with. And we want you to feel like future you has got you, that you have got your back. So you don't have to worry about judging yourself as a failure when things don't work out the way you want, or finding yourself 6 months past your deadline that you wanted to make this much money or get this new job and find yourself miserable and out of alignment and not sure why you're doing what you're doing because you never reassessed the plan that you did feel good about for 6 weeks, 3 months, whatever. But you never planned to do indefinitely. You never planned to do for an entire year straight. So we have to put these assessment points in so that you not only give yourself the best chance of fully committing to the plan. All right, 6 weeks. We're not going to question it. We're not going to change our minds. We're not going to renegotiate with ourselves. We're going to go all in and give our plan the best chance of working for these 6 weeks, 3 months, whatever. And we also want you to give yourself the best chance to trust yourself, not set yourself up for endless self judgment. And you're going to trust yourself more if you really feel like you're checking in on your safety. How do I feel about this plan? Do I still like it? What new information do I have? What circumstances have changed that I need to take into account so that I can update the plan accordingly? So I hope you take this idea and you run with it. Whatever goals you're pursuing, whatever circumstances you're dealing with, you're making a plan either way to move ahead. If you're not sure that this plan will 100% work exactly the way you want it to, I highly recommend putting an assessment point into your plan so that you can check in with yourself. What's working, what's not working, what's changed, and how do I want to continue? Do we need to update the plan given new information? I promise I never get tired of reminding my clients or you that your job is not to predict the future. You were never tasked by anyone to accurately predict what's going to happen and how's it going to happen and when's it going to happen by. And all of those voices in your head, all the minions in your mind that are telling you something has gone wrong and it should have been done by now. You should have been faster. This should have happened faster. You should have been better. You have to remember that that's all made up. It was just a guess. It was a guess that it would take this much time or it would take this much energy or other things wouldn't come up. Remember, you made the plan you made with the best intentions. You weren't trying to be crazy. You weren't trying to be irresponsible. You weren't trying to be dramatic or delusional or toxically positive. You made the plan because it was the best plan you could come up with. And the faster you can accept that, the more effectively you can assess what needs to change with the plan going forward. And that's going to help you not give up on yourself, not give up on your goals, and keep feeling like you're on your own team. Oh my gosh, I hope this helps you with whatever you're dealing with or going after, because you can do it. And if you want my help, you know where I am. KirstenParker.com/schedule. Book your consult. We'll talk for free about what's the best way that we can work together to get you in alignment, in action, with a clear head, judging yourself less, loving your plan, loving your choices. Yes, please. There are lots of ways we can work together. So feel free to book your consult with no pressure, no obligation, just to explore what are my options and you can get really clear on what you want to get done. And in the meantime, have a beautiful week and I'll see you soon. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.